Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chris Hadlam with Youth Pledge for Employers, and I'm delighted this afternoon to be joined by Tabitha Nolan, the director of Fen Zen. Hello, Tabitha.
Hi, Chris.
Fantastic. Thank you for sparing your time to be with us this afternoon. I guess the first question I have to ask you is, please tell us a little bit about Fen Zen.
Fen Zen is a nature education business. We run it as a CIC, which is a community interest company. That means it's predominantly not-for-profit, which helps to focus our energy where we do things. So we're not sort of focusing on making any money. We're just focusing on our kind of where we're going with the business, which is trying to create a good space for our local community to come and learn about nature.
That's fantastic. I mean, this seems like one of those roles where, how do I put it? I doubt you woke up, if you don't mind me saying, and suddenly thought to yourself, this is what I want to do as my career and stuff. So can you tell me a little bit about sort of your career journey and how you sort of found yourself with Fen Zen?
Yeah, I've actually had about 34 jobs in my life.
Wow.
And sometimes I reflect on that, and I think every job I've done has kind of brought me where I am today. So I take a little bit of everything that I've done over my life and bring it with me to what I do today. So yeah, I've sort of, my main job, the job I've had longest really was I was in the police force for 9 years. So that taught me a lot of things like humility and being resilient and sticking at things, that sort of thing. But I always knew that I wanted to be out in nature, doing a job out in nature. So a sort of a pastime of mine, which was we had a little bit of land that we rented and spent a lot of time on there with our children. And that kind of made me think, because I was suffering from some mental health problems, and that really helped whilst I was in the police. So I'd spend like 6 days a week doing the police force job, and then I'd have 4 days off and spend that in nature. And I found that it really helped me to kind of cope with life and cope with that job. So I felt like I'd found the meaning to life, really. Yeah. So I thought, this has helped me so much. And then I kind of I guess the sort of seed of the idea started to grow. And I thought that maybe there's something I can do for other people in there, because it helped me so much. I sort of thought, this has got to help other people as well. So yeah, it sort of started from there, really.
No, brilliant. No, thank you. That's a lovely breakdown. And yeah, I can clearly see your sort of transition points and how you, as I say, have come to sort of be in the role you're in now, and sort of playing on that a little bit. So when you're, as I say, having these events outdoors with people, sort of what kind of skills do you need to show to actually sort of, to work effectively within your role? What kind of skills or personality traits do you need to have?
Definitely compassion.
Okay.
Yeah. You need to be the sort of person that can do lots of different things. It's like you don't have to be really good at anything, as long as you can kind of put effort in. So it's like, if we can many hands make light work. So you might not be able to do something very good, but as long as you put in your part of it, then together we kind of succeed, and together we will get the job done, sort of thing. So, but the part of my job is kind of including everybody as well. So everybody's got strengths, no matter what you're doing there, whether it's listening or, we get working groups that come there, and some people are good at listening, some people are good at the physical jobs, so they go off with the strimmer. Some people like making tea for people and sitting chatting with people. And then some people are good at the planning side of stuff or the delivering side of stuff. We've all got our own strengths. And I think that's what's good about Fen Zen, is there is a place there for everybody. And this kind of work, if you do events planning or events delivering, then it doesn't really matter what kind of qualifications you've got, because you can really kind of shine in this sort of a job, because there's always something for someone to do, even if it's just acting the fool, someone on the stage, sort of like keeping the crowds entertained. that's a real niche job, but there's some people that are just really, really good at that in life.
No, I think that's a really nice way of looking at it, and I think it's, you know, really rewarding and nice for people to acknowledge that there's a role for them there, no matter what, as you say, whether it's sort of just keeping other people smiling and happy and everything, or actually, you know, doing a specific task. So no, that's really, really interesting. And I ask a lot of employees this, and I know there's no easy answer, but if you were to try and describe a typical day within Fen Zen, you know, what might that include?
Well, I'll take a Monday for an example, because they're my sort of most sort of obvious day, really. So I start my day about 8 o'clock in the morning, and I pack my car up. I keep all the stuff here because the venue is in a field, so I have to keep it at home. And so I pack my car up, which takes me probably about between 45 minutes and an hour. And then drive it all down there, unpack it. There's a lot of unpacking and packing. Depending on the weather, obviously, if it's a lovely sunny day, then it's a lovely job. But if it's raining, then it's not quite such a nice job. But yeah, and then I set up for the session, do all the checks, like because it's like a forest school setting on a Monday. So we check everything's safe. So there's all the health and safety in there, with checking swings are still safe to be swung on. Things like checking the compost toilets are clean, setting up the snack side of things, lighting a fire, knowing how to light the fire correctly and safely. I kind of now do it, I can do it standing on my head now, but obviously if you were doing it for the first time, you'd have to look at your planning, what you're going to be doing for the session, because we start with a song, and then we do free play, and then we have a snack, and then we do a nature-based activity. It could be something like weaving, or we've done things like making elderberry syrup, making animals out of clay, because we've got clay on the site, so we have to dig up the clay. So it's a really interesting job, and it's a drawing in on your knowledge of nature as well, so you can really build up your nature-based skills and your, you know, the love of nature. And then when everybody arrives, obviously there's the welcoming people, and then getting people to sign in, making sure you've got contact details for people if in case of an emergency, and then the running of the session, which is you know, basically making sure everybody's happy doing the activities, singing the songs, and just kind of mingling with people. And then so that lasts for 2 hours, sometimes a bit longer because people stay a bit longer. And then we have it all in reverse. So then we have the packing away, packing up the car, taking it all home, and then collapsing at the end of it.
Understandably, after a long day like that, I can understand. But thank you. That's a really interesting look at, you know, if that's a typical day, then wow, you know, that's really, really nice. And you touched on it actually at the start there. So if there's any sort of someone watching this video and they sort of think to themselves broadly, you know what, I want to work outside, I want to work outdoors, it's really easy probably for them to think and be motivated by working on a lovely August day, or a nice, you know, September afternoon, or something like that would be really nice. You say that sometimes, as you say, you get the wet days, you get the grim days. How do you keep yourself motivated, and sort of what's your thought process when it does come to those, maybe, as I say, wetter, colder days?
Well, a wet day on my land, or any land, is better than a warm day, or even a cold day in the office, in my mind. So yeah, I mean, it's just this contact nature, isn't it? I mean, I'm kind of very into connection with nature and that sort of thing. So whether it's hot, dry, cold, wet, windy, or whatever, I'm in my element, really, because I love all the seasons. And you know, you don't melt, do you? If it rains, you're not going to melt into a pile on the floor. So it's just, I guess, I mean, some people say there's no such thing as bad weather, just in something inappropriate clothing. But you know, it's not even that. I just think, you know, it's lovely to be outside, and you know, it's kind of, that's just what my job is. That's why I love it so much, is because I like all weathers. But I can imagine if you didn't like the rain, then yeah, I suppose wearing the right sort of clothing, making sure you've got waterproofs and wellies, and kind of saying to yourself that, you know, at the end of the day you can go home and get warm again. We always make sure that we've got a fire on days like that, so you know you're not going to freeze to death.
I think after what everyone's been through with COVID, I think there's never been a time where people have probably been more appreciative of the outdoors and the comfort and the sort of reinvigoration it can bring. Have you sort of noticed any sort of trends or anything new sort of coming out of COVIDs and lockdowns about how people are sort of feeling about the outdoors when they come and take part in anything to do with Fen Zen?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely noticed it on a business side of things. So we've been running for 4 years, and when we started, there was nothing like us around. And now the business side is flooded. There's quite a lot of little groups like ours. I think the people that come to us have always kind of known, if you know what I mean. I don't think they're like they're new to this. I think they're kind of you sometimes get people like I had a family who said that the first time after coming to Fen Zen, Mother's Fire Circle, their children went home and they wanted a swing put up in the tree in the garden, and they were setting fires in the garden, and you know, it had a profound effect on them. But yeah, you know, I think it's a really good thing that people have started to kind of appreciate nature and being outside. That can only be a good thing, really, can't it?
Definitely, and just touch on some of the things you said there. And I say I've done a little sort of bit of research on your website when it comes to things like a Mother's Fire Circle or Father's Fire Circle. For people, including myself, who aren't familiar with those, you know, sort of what kind of, you know, what do they involve and what's their purpose?
Always, forever, from the beginning of time, sat in circle, and we just tend to not do it so much anymore. But when you sit in circle with people and talk, it has a real profound effect on people, and just being heard and having the opportunity to talk can really kind of do something to your soul. And then when you couple that with sitting in nature, you know, nature at Fen Zen on our plot there, it really holds us, and you know, I have a true belief that it wants us there, and it really wants to support everything that we're doing there. And some people might think that just sounds a bit too woo-woo, but you know, I genuinely do believe that. But yeah, sitting in circle, it's, well, the mother's fire circle is the thing that I described on my typical day. That's what we do. So it's a bit like a toddler group or a children's play group type thing, but outside. So a bit like a forest school. But we have children there who are home educated as well. So we have children up to the age of 16 who come right from birth. And we're all together as a community, which is lovely as well, because people get to know each other, and it creates bonds and support bonds and that sort of thing. So a lot of people who come to our groups are friends outside now as well. So it does create a real sense of community. And then the men's circles, they are an opportunity for men to sit in circle and be heard again. No women around, and just for them to kind of have that community, because a lot of men do have you know, they're off to work all day. I am generalizing here, but they don't have a lot of opportunity to talk on a sort of a non-business level. Do you know what I mean? So we try and offer things that are going to help people.
No, that's brilliant. And as I say, I think especially like you cited, coming out of COVID and lockdowns and things, I think people are probably looking for those looking for help more than ever, really. And they are looking, you know, sort of at, you know, examples like this and options like this, which they probably didn't know about, as you say, maybe a couple of years ago, or, you know, probably as they weren't aware of, and they say now they are aware of them. You know, it's brilliant. They know, they say they've got nature on their doorstep, even though it's been there all along.
Yeah.
But brilliant. And my final question, really, Tabitha, and I've asked this to all the employers I've had these talks with, really, is if you had to go back and speak to, say, sort of 17, 18-year-old Tabitha, and, you know, you've given us a little bit of insight into your career journey and, you know, as I say, maybe the wrong turns you had to take to find the role, you know, where you were happy. But what piece of career advice would you give to your younger self?
It'd be like something along the lines of don't get too kind of wrapped up in qualifications and feeling that if you don't get your qualifications that you're never going to be anything, because most of my enjoyable jobs that I've had have been vocational. Obviously I'm doing something vocational now, but it's just about putting yourself out there, and I really do believe that you can get something on an interview if you just be yourself. And that's a bit of a cliche, isn't it? But just kind of let your strengths come out in interview, rather than, it's nice to have the opportunity to get an interview. I appreciate that sometimes you don't even get as far as getting an interview, but if you can just get on the phone to someone and say, can I please come and see you, if you're passionate about something, because that passion will show through. And I'd rather, if someone come in to get a job with me, and they had, I had two people, one who was outstanding because they were passionate, and I could see that they really wanted to do that, and then the other one with like 4 A levels or something, I'd definitely go for the one who had the passion, and you could see that they were really wanting to do something, and it was in their heart and soul rather than on a piece of paper.
I think that's an absolutely lovely piece of advice to end on, and thanks for answering that question for me, Tabitha.
Okay.